What's it like starting over at 29 after you've made millions, only to end up losing it and being in debt by at least 80,000 in your 20s? I'll tell you my story. My name's Zaire Allen, and before we get into this is going to be an unfiltered story on what I've actually gone through throughout my 20s and what some things I've learned and some things that I just where life's at. For starters, I actually didn't piss my money away on stupid shit like cocaine. I didn't have any drug addictions. I mean, I liked alcohol a little bit, but I didn't have any drug addictions. And I didn't actually buy Lamborghinis or do anything really, really stupid. But I do think I fucked up at least a little bit, because there was this time where I really wanted to get a Porsche 911 Turbo S, of course. If you're into cars, that is, I don't even care which model. Just give me one of them and there's something there, and I'm sure I'll be much happier until I need to go crave the next thing to chase, right? But I feel like I fucked up by not buying that car, and one of the things that actually stands out to this day, is when I wanted to buy that car, I had a decision: either get it or I invest in the company a little bit more that I built. I'll talk to you a bit more about this, but I built a company, and there was a guy who was underperforming, and a lot of trouble came from this particular person's lack of performance. I actually ended up hiring 3 people to try and improve his performance, and it didn't go the way I wanted it to. So I ended up spending at least a Porsche 911 and a little bit, or half of its worth in the secondary market even, on trying to get the best performance out of this person, and it just never came in the end. And unfortunately, we did part ways, and the business had to move on. But when I'm looking back now, I'm like, you should, like, I didn't know any better, so it's not like I could have just made this decision and know not to try and keep progressing people or try to grow people who aren't trying to grow. There's a fucked up part about life where if you do want to push someone, they have to be willing, and it's also something that they need to come to terms with, and this person just wasn't that guy. So yeah, I just didn't make a great decision on a Lamborghini or a Porsche, whatever. But yeah, I feel like those memories would have actually helped me out if I did buy one of those cars. Like right now, as life is kind of fucked up in some ways, I would love to know that I at least had a 911, even if it was for a year. It would be great. But here we are. Before I continue though, I think it's quite important that I give you an idea and update you on where life is today. Like, for instance, currently I work in a coffee shop and I clock around 48 hours a week, doing a little bit of overtime. And right now I spend 15 or so hours on commuting, not community. So I'm doing, low 60-hour work weeks, and I don't really do much outside of that other than go to the gym a little bit, and try to, I don't know, I really don't do much at the moment. I'm just fixing some immediate problems because my foundation isn't stable. I think I make around $23 an hour, something shy of that, if not that on the dot. And quite frankly, coming from a person who has made all of the money I made in my 20s, it kind of feels like a kick in the face, especially knowing that I have much more monetizable skills and I can do so much more in terms of impact and value, but my current salary doesn't reflect that. That is probably the most toughest thing from an ego and mental standpoint that I'm faced with as it currently stands right now. Do I enjoy this phase? Fuck no. I can't lie, I really miss eating steaks at really nice restaurants. I miss driving other fast cars that weren't Porsche 911s. And I even just miss little things like sleeping well at night, knowing that my problems around money weren't really a burden. Like, one of the things that I don't know if it gets talked about when people do go from different social classes and they climb up the ladder economically, But one thing for me, I grew up poor, like kind of, not like, oh, woe is me poor, but like, you know, a lot of things I couldn't have. And there were barriers to many experiences in my childhood, but my parents gave me a lot of love and I grew up in a really good community. So I didn't miss out in that respect. But, oh, 1 minute. I forgot I was boiling water so I can make spaghetti, but fuck it. We're going to continue this video. All right. So I grew up in that environment, and one of the things that is difficult to comprehend is the feeling when you don't have to worry about whether you have enough to make ends meet or whether you have enough to plan further than, you know, a few months at a time. When you've got 100,000 in the bank or even more, a couple of those even, you sleep like a friggin' king. Oh my gosh, when I tell you, you wake up not worrying about affordability related problems for the most part. You get to focus on other things. For me, I spent a lot of time, I guess, studying philosophy studying philosophy, trying to be enlightened. I smoked a load of weed, if I'm honest, so that probably helped, but I never really talked about that, but hey, whatever. But yeah, money problems actually solve so much of life's mundane issues, and you can do shit like you can go to restaurants, you can buy things, you can get people to have experiences with you that otherwise wouldn't want to spend money on certain types of things. And it's great to be able to bring these people together and have a great time. I did create a load of memories with some amazing friends and family, so I'm happy about that. But at the same time, I miss being able to do that stuff. Like, for instance, right now, I miss my friends, but I can't just say, hey, do you want to fly over? I'll cover it. Don't worry about it. Just come ASAP. And we're going to have a great time in New York. Can't do that. Can't afford it. And that's kind of fucking me up, because going from being able to do shit like that throughout my 20s to now being in a position where it's like, I just don't know how to cope in some way with the lack of financial power again. Because most of my 20s, I at least earned a really good wage. Some people say $23 an hour is good, but quite frankly, it's fuck all. You know, you spend a lot of that on rent or whatnot, or just fixed costs, and you have many people can have some disposable income, but you don't get to have that much fun. And if you do have fun, it's quite capped because you are thinking ahead. And granted, a lot of people do live like this, but I didn't. And I worked my way out of living like this to then end up back in this position, and I'm working on it right now. But yeah, this is a thing for people, and this is a thing that happens. I actually had a cool team of 8 colleagues full-time and about 14 people part-time. And we were working on a really good company. I miss being able to have a mission. Right now, I serve coffee, for fuck's sake. There's nothing empowering about doing that or the act of it, because a lot of the people don't really want to speak to you. And one of the things that I've realized about myself is I actually crave quality conversation. So I will go out my way to remember people's name, remember their orders, just make them feel great, which does help. I do have a lot of amazing customer interactions, but just knowing that my only value to these people is a drink that they might spend 10 minutes sipping, and after that they forget about me. It hurts, because I know that in the past, you know, I built a school called Love Circular. Some of you may know, many won't, and that's fine. But we taught 1,300 people how to change their lives completely. They went from no experience in product design or UX, whatever you want to call it, and we taught them how to learn a skill, and then we got them employed. Now, a lot of those designers, around a third of those designers, after completing their bootcamp, have actually been employed and do earn a current, a yearly salary. At the moment, it amounts around 30 million across the board, and it's probably a higher number now, but we stopped collecting data because the company doesn't exist. But just knowing that I've done that sort of thing for people, and I've been able to have more of an impact on people's day and lives, yeah, there's just something that I crave about that, and I don't enjoy this period because I'm searching for that and I just can't get that through what I currently do for work. Now, my professional skill set is I was a product designer before I ended up becoming I don't like the word entrepreneur, but it's what it is, whatever. I was a product designer professionally, and I actually had some sales experience, which was great because it made a lot of it just made me really hireable, and it helped quite considerably. But after being an entrepreneur, you end up with a bit of a weird career arc, because for me, I'm now really competent at sales, marketing, design, product, and project management. So it's now a philosophical question from an internal standpoint of, where do you go? How do you sell that story? Because I can do these roles equally as good for the most part, at a midweight level at least. And I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what the next phase looks like, but I realized that I'm not a specialist. I'm a very good generalist now. And that is helpful in startups, but sometimes startups don't want to hire someone who has my background, because it looks like I might leave to start my own thing, and that can just affect whether they trust me to come in and be a part of their team, and so on, which I'll get into. But I'm realizing that, the lack of specialist skills is quite tough for me right now, because I'm actually trying to, I've been trying to get a career related job for a while, and a big problem that I've actually faced is, a big problem I've faced is the narrative doesn't check out when I try and get a job. For instance, I spoke to a recruiter recently who's been working on trying to get me interviews, and he understands my stories. He knows that I would be an asset to most companies that he can pitch me to. But the problem isn't his belief, and it usually ends up being the founders of these companies or the hiring parties question why I'd be looking for a job if I'm able to create so much in revenue, and I have had the experience that I've had. It doesn't make sense. For instance, that quote that I just showed you, I felt like this was the most professional way to say either he has a skill issue or he's a liar, but yet he might be both of those things. I felt like that's what this person was actually telling me. And when I spoke to other recruiters and other interviews that I've had, it just seems like I'm not good enough to be a specialist at the level that a lot of companies might want me to be, but I'm also not set, like the narrative around me isn't great when it comes to packaging my experience now. So it's quite frustrating. I think my best bet is actually looking at sales jobs, which I have started considering and I've started working on. But even then, things are slow. Things are just slow, and it's quite fucking demoralizing, if I'm honest. Especially when you know that there's so much you can offer to a lot of companies. And I speak to companies where they're having problems, or I speak to people who are explicitly having they tell me they're having problems, and I offer free work to some extent just to get my foot through the door. And I realize I can do freelancing, I can consult, but it's just not a stable enough lifestyle. And plus, I like building systems, but I don't want to end up owning an agency, which is another dilemma that I'm realizing I have had in this period of time. And like I said, it's demoralizing because I feel stuck. Professionally, I feel very, very stuck, and I'm trying to work through it. Like, I have friends, I have acquaintances that do really, really well, and maybe it's because I'm a serial mid-curver at this stage of my career or life, but it's just so easy for me to be envious of others that seem to have that part of their career arc career path figured out, especially people who come from a grounded or more solid foundation in terms of finances and resources. Right now, you know, I've tried looking at building businesses since I gave up the company Love Circular. I'll talk about how that ended and stuff at another time. But I tried starting new businesses. I know that someone who's watching at least to this point might wonder, why have I not done anything else? Like, where's my next idea if I've got these great skills? But if I'm honest, like, it's very difficult to start a business when you're in this position. Over the past year or so, I've actually tried a few different things, or I've looked at a few different things, like coaching designers on how to create design businesses, largely service-based businesses, which did well. We generated some, a few tens of thousands of revenue, but quite fundamentally, I think coaching is quite a difficult model, especially in that market when you are trying. It wasn't fulfilling in ways, but it's a fulfilling thing to see people win. But when people don't win, it gets kind of demoralizing for them. And when you know that the difference between them winning and not succeeding is just how much effort they put in, but they give you excuses, it is so tough. And I know it fought very well from building Love Circular, but it was different because that was a different time and a different market. These are established designers who already have a day job, so they're comfortable. They're not as hungry sometimes. And yeah, that was just one thing, for instance. But I tried a few other things. And what I've realized is when I'm in this position where I'm trying to essentially get my finances in order, it's quite difficult to, be in a space to build a business, because at the end of the day, you end up trying to, A, make every decision you have the right decision, the perfect decision when it comes to building a business, and B, you have the fear of instability, which can motivate people, motivates me, but I also can acknowledge that it's really stupid. It's freaking retarded when you look at it in the long run, because at the end of the day, you end up in a position where you essentially are living in a high stress environment and your adrenaline is always at a very, very high level. There's no reason to be in that state. You can't make good decisions. I actually realized that, I did some thinking for a while, and I figured out that entrepreneurs are actually not paid for being right all the time. A big thing that we would get paid for is being the person that understood how to take a certain risk, and that risk pays off in an outsized way that allows us to create momentum and build systems that can essentially feed off that initial traction or momentum. And then we keep getting paid, and we build different systems and we just layer them on and all sorts. But when you're trying to make the business decision the right decision, that's a very hard thing when you know that you don't have many turns at bat. If we're using an analogy, a baseball analogy, for instance, every hit you hit must be a home run, and that's very difficult. A home run it needs to generate 4,000 a month. It's very difficult to go from zero to that if you're not doing consulting. And even when you do consulting, you need to build a brand, you need to build content, you need to do certain things. And right now, I'm just not been able to figure out what that is for me. And I don't know. I really don't know. But I know that in this period of starting life over again, I have to go in a direction. Now, for some of you who may know my stories a little bit, story a little bit, you know that I left the UK in 2024 to move to the US, New York City in particular, but I'm not there at the moment. I'm very close to it. Finding my feet has actually been such a ball ache over the last 18 months or so now. I'm finding it very, even this, like social circles, when you're currently working the hours I work, it's very difficult to maintain a healthy social life. And I know social lives aren't everything, but they do act as a bedrock to one's safety, the psychological state. And right now, I think I'm decent. Mental health and all that stuff is quite good. Largely, I ignore it. I try not to think about it, and it works very well for me. I don't even entertain thoughts too much around mental health and feeling looking into my feelings. I acknowledge them and I move through them. But yeah, it's quite demoralizing when you realize you don't actually have as close friendships or as good friendships, and a lot of it comes down to distance between people that I find cool, and other parts are I just don't have enough money or disposable income to spend willy-nilly on activities that would nurture the friendships. And this is where I'm like, shit, I could do with a job, I could do with meeting people, I could do with getting out there and just seeing what's going on in the world, and this is what I'm working towards. But the longer that this takes to occur and for me to succeed at this, the more difficult it actually gets, because it then feels like I'm constantly just on the losing side of a battle. It feels like Sisyphus, for instance. How many more miles or how much longer do I need to keep pushing this boulder up this hill called life? It really does. It wears you down in ways. Many of the days that many days that I do think about my decision of moving to the US, I also think about why I do it, why I did it. I think it's a ridiculous idea. But at the end of the day, I knew that I have a longer term vision. And right now, this is the uncomfortable period. What we're going to be working on at some point in life will be much, much better. And I am so certain that things will be great. It's just, this is the teething pain, and the teething pains aren't the most comfortable. I think I've had just so many false starts, and it's been difficult. This quarter is probably going to be the first cash flow positive month I've had since moving here. It's going to be the first month that I think I get to actually save something, and that says a lot. I've been bleeding constantly since coming over, and it's just getting there. I genuinely think delusion is the way, though. You have to genuinely, you have to tell yourself that whatever this is, it's just a phase. Because many things in life are phases, but it doesn't change the fact that the phase is painful. But I think you have to be deluded at this point to believe that it's a good decision, because everything in my body tells me, hey, you should just go back to Manchester. You should go back to the UK. Even if it's not Manchester, go to London, whatever. You should just do that. Stick to what you know. And I'm finding it really, it's entertaining to think about those thoughts. But when I sit with myself and I think and I take control of my thoughts, I realize this is just temptation. It's the easy thing. And I'm a person who really likes to do the difficult things, because I think life rewards you for doing the difficult things. And right now I am doing the difficult thing of working through a very, very mental and also physically demanding period. Right now, I've got a torn meniscus. How the fuck did I tear my meniscus fucking serving coffee? How? It's not even an impact injury. It's just I'm on my feet all day long, and I guess I'm getting old. This is the stuff that comes with being 29. I go to the gym, I do legs. It's so confusing. But here we are, and little things like that, waking up at 4 a.m. is very crazy to me, to do that every single day. I worked 9 straight days, but again, I know that these moments are going to be the difference makers at some point in my future. For instance, I speak to amazing people. I spoke to a person today. He has a company that, what's his company? It's a construction company, and they work on luxury homes for celebrities and the likes of CEOs that are very, very wealthy. And, I've built up a relationship. Like I said, I build relationships. I like that sort of thing. And this is one of the things that I guess I'm working on in life now. But he explained to me after, a few conversations what he's doing, and the fact that he thinks I could be a person of interest for helping him out. He's looking at creating a project that utilizes my experiences. I can't talk about it because it's not my idea and it's not my thing, but it utilizes my experiences. And he mentioned, a friend of his who is a less attractive market. made 4 million the first year from this business model. So I'm like, oh damn, like that, there's some serious legs. For context, my best year financially was probably close to about 750. So to know that you can come to a bigger market and you can make 4 million in a lesser market than where I'm at, even at, it's like reassuring. And when he told me about the project and told me about he would love my thoughts and my involvement, it gets exciting, right? It gets really exciting because I do feel like I get to use my my skill set of building teams and also being on the ground and helping go from 0 to 1. But this stuff comes because genuinely I'm delusional. Every day before I get onto the working floor or whatever you want to call it, I talk to myself now. I've never really been an affirmations person. I used to think they were quite corny, they were lame, they were just like woo-woo stuff. But here I am telling myself every day that I am lucky, I am amazing. I know how to succeed at many things in life, and I have felt and faced all sorts of pain. But the good thing is I'm still standing and I believe in myself and other people believe in me. I tell myself stuff like this all the time, and lo and behold, I feel like I walk into conversations that are potentially life-changing. And the only thing that is kind of painful right now is, you know, that this is inevitable. You know that I know that there's change around the corner. I just don't know where it is and what it looks like and how it will come into play. But I know that it's there, and I know that success knows where I live because it's knocked on my door before and I've took advantage, and we have that relationship. So it knows I'm familiar with it. I'm not a stranger. So now it's like, how do we get it again? And how do I keep control of it? Because, you know, in the past, one of the big things that actually messed me up was I didn't extract money from the company very well. I extracted some money, but I actually reinvested most of the money from Love Circular into the company and trying to build it out even more. Like an idiot, I thought I could approach life kind of like how Silicon Valley startups would, or venture-backed startups would, where they just keep investing in it and the founders eat very cheaply. But nobody at the time told me, hey, I've bootstrapped this thing. Nobody else, there is no lifeline. I can't just keep asking for money from a big investor. I need to be the person who is stable enough to be able to ride many waves, and then the company comes after. But hey, I didn't do that. And these are the little things that next time around, I'm prepared for and I'm knowledgeable and I will be able to do. But now, for now, this is where I'm at. This is what restarting or starting life over at 29 looks like for a person like me. Life has become one masochistic game of how resilient I can be. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but there it is. I don't know where I'm going to be in a year's time. I don't even know where I'm going to be in 10. But I know that I would like to have purpose, and I'd like to do something that allows me to connect with people a lot more than I have ever done in the past. And I'm working on that. I hope you lot are having a great day, and I hope that my message can help start a conversation between anyone who's watched it to this point. Please leave a comment. I don't necessarily care if you subscribe or like it. Just leave a comment. Even if you say I'm a fucking idiot, like, great. Let's have a conversation. Yeah. Anyway, take care.